The honey badger. A 20-pound animal shouldn't be able to pick fights with everything on the African savanna and win. But the honey badger didn't get that memo, and the food chain, as far as this animal is concerned, is a suggestion, not a rule. It holds the Guinness World Record for most fearless mammal, and has kept that title since 2002. Its skin is 6 millimeters thick at the neck, and loose enough that it can rotate a full 180 degrees inside its own hide while a predator is biting down on its back. Imagine someone grabbing you by your shirt and you spinning around inside it to punch them in the face, except the shirt is your body. Roughly a quarter of its diet is venomous snakes, cobras, puff adders, black mambas. A single amino acid swap in its nerve receptors, tryptophan swapped for arginine, blocks cobra venom from binding. The same mutation evolved independently in mongooses, hedgehogs, and pigs. Evolution solved the same problem the same way 4 separate times. Now, the myth that won't die. Honey-guide birds lead honey badgers to beehives. First claimed in 1785 by a naturalist who heard it secondhand. No scientist has ever observed this. The badger finds hives on its own. But here's the real thing. A cobra bites the badger. The neurotoxin knocks it out cold. It wakes up a few hours later, finds the cobra, and finishes eating it. Dinner was just briefly interrupted. The skunk. Every predator in North America has learned to leave this 8-pound animal alone. Every single one, except for one bird. The striped skunk's scientific name is Mephitis mephitis, Latin for bad odor, used twice. It carries 2 grape-sized glands with roughly a tablespoon of musk between them, and the active compounds are thiols, sulfur hydrogen molecules that trigger a near-universal disgust response in mammals. The spray hits with precision from 15 feet. The smell reaches people 3.5 miles downwind. That's about 60 city blocks from 1 tablespoon of liquid. And before it fires, spotted skunks do a full handstand, back legs in the air, spraying from an elevated position. It looks exactly as absurd as it sounds. But the skunk only carries 5 or 6 shots, and reloading takes 10 days. Somehow, everything still avoids it. That's because the spray has a chemical backup. Thioacetate esters in the musk break down into additional thiols on contact with water. Getting it wet makes it worse. And the famous remedy? Tomato juice can't oxidize thiols. What actually happens is olfactory fatigue. Your nose gives up on the skunk smell and you start noticing the tomato instead. The odor's still there. The only animal that regularly eats skunks is the great horned owl, a bird with almost no sense of smell. That's not a defense mechanism, that's a monopoly. The Bombardier Beetle. This beetle has a defense so extreme that a toad swallowed one whole and had to spit it back out alive. It carries 2 chemicals in separate internal chambers, hydroquinones and hydrogen peroxide. When enzymes in a reaction chamber combine them, the result reaches 212 degrees Fahrenheit and fires in rapid bursts, roughly 500 pulses per second. But the spray isn't the story. It's what happens when the beetle gets eaten before it can fire. In a 2018 study, 43% of toads that swallowed bombardier beetles vomited them back up alive, anywhere from 12 minutes to 107 minutes later. One ejected beetle survived another 562 days. A year and a half of life that started inside a stomach. The creationists claim that this system couldn't have evolved because the chemicals would explode, falls apart on contact with actual chemistry. Hydrogen peroxide and hydroquinone don't spontaneously combust when mixed, they oxidize slowly. Only the beetle's specific enzyme pair triggers the explosive reaction. Evolution's answer to being swallowed alive was to fight your way out from the inside. That beetle was in a toad's gut for nearly 2 hours. It came out alive. It lived for a year and a half. At some point, you have to ask who was actually in danger. Being eaten alive is usually the end of the story. Not for everyone on this list. The Tasmanian Devil. 26 pounds. That's all it takes to produce the strongest bite relative to body size of any living mammal. A lion's bite force quotient is 112. A tiger's is 127. The Tasmanian Devil's is 181. Pound for pound, it bites harder than both of Africa's apex predators. Its jaw opens 80 degrees, and in a single sitting, it'll eat 40% of its body weight. Bones, fur, claws, gone in 30 minutes. For a 180-pound person, that's 72 pounds of food before lunch is over. The skull is short and broad, working as a biomechanical lever that minimizes the distance between the jaw joint and bite surface, maximizing crushing force per unit of muscle. Evolution built this marsupial for one thing: destroying bone. It's the largest surviving carnivorous marsupial since the Thylacine went extinct, and nothing in modern Tasmania bothers it. But the cartoon lied to you. The Looney Tunes Taz is pure fiction. Devils are shy. That open-mouth display where they flash every tooth isn't aggression, it's fear. And the real threat to their survival isn't a predator at all. Devil facial tumor disease is a transmissible cancer where the tumor cells themselves pass between individuals like an infection, one of the rarest phenomena in biology. It's caused more than 60% population decline since the 90s. Its most terrifying display is the Tasmanian Devil equivalent of screaming. It's not threatening you, it's begging you to leave. Cape buffalo. Lions are the apex predator of the African savanna. Cape buffalo didn't get that memo. This animal has been documented chasing lion prides up trees and holding them there for 2 hours. Not fleeing, pursuing. Bulls weigh up to 1,900 pounds and charge at 35 miles per hour. The horn bases fuse into a solid bone shield called the boss that can stop poorly placed rifle rounds. And despite thousands of years of human presence, they've never been domesticated. The aggression is genetic. 870 kilograms at 35 miles per hour is a small car at highway speed, except this one can change direction faster than you can turn around. The food chain, once again, is looking more like a suggestion. But here's the genuinely weird part. Research shows they vote. Females lie down facing their preferred travel direction, and the herd moves whichever way the majority faced. In 2004, at Kruger National Park, a herd returned to rescue a calf from lions and a crocodile, tossing full-grown lions into the air. Now, not all of them are dangerous. Cow-calf herds are described as nearly as docile as cattle. The real threat is solitary old males, the Dagaboys, and any wounded individual. Context switches them from calm to lethal. They vote on where to walk. They hold grudges for hours. They've never been domesticated by any civilization in history. They're, in the most literal sense, ungovernable. If you're enjoying this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. Most of our viewers aren't subscribed yet, and it genuinely helps us keep making these. Thanks. Wolverine. Everything about the Wolverine's reputation says it should be dead by now. It steals food from bears. It follows wolf packs. It lives in some of the harshest terrain on Earth. Its Latin name is gulo gulo, meaning glutton, except that name is a centuries-old translation error. Norwegian fjellfross, meaning mountain cat, was mistranslated into German Vielfraß, meaning devours much, which became the Latin gulo. The entire glutton reputation comes from a mistake. The Wolverine hoards food because Arctic winter demands it, not because it overeats. At 24 to 40 pounds, it's the largest land-dwelling mustelid, and its jaw generates the highest compressive force at the mandibular condyle of any measured carnivore at its size, built for crunching through frozen bone and sinew in sub-zero conditions. A 20-pound Wolverine will confront a 500-pound black bear over a frozen carcass. That's the weight difference between a house cat and you. Except the house cat wins. But the myth needs correcting. Alaska's Department of Fish and Game says researchers have never directly observed a wolverine chasing a bear off a kill. Wolves killed 3 wolverines over 13 months in one study. They're not invincible. They just have an absurd risk tolerance and the jaws to survive the gamble most of the time. Its name means glutton. It's not. It's an Arctic survivalist with the highest risk tolerance of any mammal alive, and the jaw to back it up. Electric eel. 80% of this animal's body is dedicated to one function: generating electricity. Heart, lungs, digestive tract, all compressed into the front 20%. It's not even an eel. It's a knife fish, order Gymnotiformes, more closely related to carp and catfish than to any true eel. And until 2019, scientists thought there was one species. There are 3. The strongest, Electrophorus volti, produces up to 860 volts from roughly 6,000 modified muscle cells called electrocytes, firing in synchrony. But the voltage isn't the story. In 1800, Alexander von Humboldt described electric eels leaping out of the water to shock horses. Scientists ridiculed the account for 2 centuries. Exaggeration, fantasy, naturalist folklore. Then, in 2016, Kenneth Catania at Vanderbilt tested it. The eels leap. They press their chins against the target above the waterline and channel the full current through direct contact instead of dispersing it through water. The physics of the leap concentrate both voltage and amperage into a single circuit through the target. Humboldt was right. Nobody had bothered to check for 200 years. And the food chain, for the 3rd time now, is just a suggestion. If there's a pattern here, it's that the most dangerous thing in a fight isn't size. It's having absolutely nothing to lose. The cassowary. This is a living dinosaur with a 5-inch dagger on each foot and 0 natural predators. The southern cassowary stands up to 6 feet 6 inches tall, weighs up to 187 pounds, and runs 30 miles per hour through dense rainforest. That inner toe claw is longer than a steak knife blade, attached to a leg that can launch nearly 200 pounds at full sprint. No predator on its continent bothers with the math. It's a ratite, a flightless bird with no keel on its sternum. Closest living relative, the emu. All the energy that would have gone into flight got redirected into legs, mass, and territorial aggression. Evolution traded wings for a knife. The bony casque on its head looks like a weapon, but probably isn't. Current research points to thermoregulation or sound resonance. The real weapon is lower down. It's been called the most dangerous bird alive. But the kill count tells a quieter story. 2 confirmed human fatalities. Ever. 1926, a teenager who hit one with a club. 2019, a 75-year-old man killed by his own pet cassowary in Florida after he fell near it. 73% of documented attacks involved birds that had been fed by humans. They're naturally shy. Both fatal incidents were human-initiated. 2 confirmed kills in a century. Both provoked. 0 natural predators. What exactly is this bird waiting for? The hippo. This animal eats grass. Only grass. And it kills roughly 500 people a year. More than lions, more than elephants, more than most things with actual fangs. Crocodiles, animals that have barely changed in 200 million years, actively avoid hippo territory. Bulls average 3,300 pounds and can exceed 7,000. The jaw opens over 100 degrees, the widest gape of any large land mammal, lined with lower canine tusks that never stop growing and reach 20 inches. Bite force, 1,800 pounds per square inch. Every number in this animal's profile is a mismatch with its diet. Documented boat capsizings include the 2014 Niger River incident that killed 13, and a 2023 event in Malawi that killed 7, including a 1-year-old. A herbivore that sinks boats. And the reddish stuff on its skin isn't blood. It's not sweat either. It's hipposudoric acid, a unique compound that functions as sunscreen, moisturizer, water repellent, and antibiotic all at once. Starts clear, turns crimson on air exposure. Ancient Egyptians saw it and thought the hippo was bleeding through its skin. But here's the part that really breaks your brain. Its closest living relative is a dolphin. They diverged roughly 55 million years ago. It eats 80 pounds of grass a night, and it kills more people per year than lions. Nothing about this animal adds up. The porcupine. This is a rodent. It doesn't bite, it doesn't chase, it doesn't attack. It just walks away, and anything that touches it may never hunt normally again. The African crested porcupine's quills are modified keratin hairs with microscopic backward-facing barbs that work like fish hooks. Once embedded, they expand from body heat and moisture, working progressively deeper. Porcupines can't shoot their quills. That myth likely started when observers saw loose quills shaking free during a threat display. What actually happens is the porcupine charges backward into the threat and the quills detach on contact. Simple. Devastating. Researchers at the Field Museum CT scanned the skulls of the Tsavo man-eaters, the two lions that killed between 28 and 135 railway workers in Kenya in 1898. They found porcupine quill fragments lodged in broken teeth. The Darajani maneater of 1965 had a 9-inch quill embedded nearly 5 inches into its left nostril, reaching the frontal sinuses, destroying its ability to smell prey. And there's a pattern. Young solitary male lions are the most vulnerable. Without a pride, they can't get help removing embedded quills. They suffer the worst infections, the worst sensory damage, and they make the worst decisions. Quill, to fracture, to infection, to sensory loss, to targeting humans. A 40-pound rodent doesn't hunt, doesn't chase, doesn't attack. It just walks away. And 3 of the most infamous man-eating lions in recorded history have porcupine quills in their skulls. The food chain isn't a chain, it's a circle. If you made it this far, you're clearly into the wild side of the animal kingdom. Subscribe and stick around because we've got a lot more coming. Thanks for watching.